Let me be real with you for a second. Not the kind of real where someone tells you to stop buying coffee and suddenly you'll be a millionaire. We've all heard that one. It's reductive, it's lazy, and frankly it misses the entire point of what's actually happening to people's finances right now. I'm talking about something deeper, something more structural, something that's been quietly reshaping the financial reality of millions of people over the last few years. And most people haven't fully connected the dots yet, because the changes happened gradually enough that each one felt manageable on its own. You're working. You're earning. Maybe you're earning more than you ever have in your life. You got the raise. You picked up the extra work. You hustled through the difficult years. And yet somehow, at the end of every month, the number in your bank account doesn't reflect any of that. It doesn't reflect the hours. It doesn't reflect the stress. It doesn't reflect the sacrifices you made and the things you said no to so that you could get to this point. And you keep telling yourself the same story because it's the logical conclusion. I just need to earn a little more. One more raise. One more client. One more opportunity. Then I'll be fine. But here is what almost nobody is willing to say out loud, because it's uncomfortable and it challenges a story most people would rather not examine. The problem is not always, not even usually, how much comes in. Often the problem is where it quietly, invisibly goes out. We are living in a moment unlike anything most of us have navigated before. The cost of everything went up. You felt it. You adjusted. You accepted it, because what choice did you have? You updated your budget in your head, recalibrated your expectations, and kept moving. That's what resilient people do. But what almost nobody caught, what the financial media barely discussed, is that it wasn't just the prices that changed. The value changed too. The actual exchange rate between your money and what you receive in return quietly shifted on dozens of everyday purchases. Products and services that once justified their cost, that once offered a fair deal, that once made sense in your life, no longer do. The math flipped, and most people are still spending as if the old math still applies. That is the gap I want to close today. Not with dramatic warnings about catastrophic financial mistakes. Not with judgment about how you've been living, but with the honest, specific, number-backed truth about 12 categories of spending that are no longer giving you fair value in 2026, and what you can do about each one starting this week. Because the first and most powerful step toward building real financial freedom is radical spending awareness. Not deprivation. Not minimalism. Not living a smaller life. Awareness. Making sure that every dollar leaving your account is leaving with your full knowledge, your genuine intention, and a return on that spending that you would consciously choose again if you were asked. Most people are not spending that way. And most people are paying for it, literally, every single month. Let's go through all 12. Number 1, food delivery apps. This one earns its place at the top of this list not because it's the most dramatic financial mistake you can make, but because it has become so normalized, so woven into the fabric of daily life, that most people genuinely do not see it as a problem. It feels like a small convenience. It feels like a modern necessity. It feels like what everyone does, because it is what everyone does. And that normalization is exactly what makes it one of the most expensive habits of the 2026 middle class. Let me walk you through what actually happens when you place a delivery order, because most people have never laid it out explicitly. You open your app of choice. You find a meal that looks good. Let's say it's listed at $15, which feels reasonable for a burger and fries. You add it to your cart. And then, almost as an afterthought, the fees appear. Start with the menu price itself. Most restaurants on delivery platforms mark up their prices 15 to 30% above what you'd pay walking in. That $15 burger might cost $11 if you sat down in the restaurant. You're paying a premium before you've even gotten to the fees, just for the privilege of browsing on the app. Then the delivery fee appears. $2 to $5, depending on distance and time of day. Then the service fee, typically 10 to 15% of your subtotal, a charge that goes to the platform, not the restaurant, not the driver. Then sometimes a small order fee if you haven't hit the minimum. Then the tip prompt, which the app presents at 18%, 20%, or 25% as the default options, with anything below that requiring you to actively select a lower amount or customize, creating subtle social pressure in a transaction that involves no face-to-face interaction whatsoever. And if you subscribe to a delivery service for reduced fees, DashPass, Uber One, or any equivalent, you're paying $9.99 to $14.99 per month before your first order even arrives, theoretically saving on fees while potentially ordering more frequently than you would without the subscription, which the business model absolutely depends on. That $15 meal landed at your door at $30 to $38. You probably didn't feel it happen because the fees appeared one at a time, each individually small, and your hunger had already committed you to the purchase long before the total was visible. Now scale that. 3 delivery orders per week, the documented average for regular app users in 2026, at an average true cost of $32 per order. That is $96 per week, $384 per month, $4,608 per year, on food that, cooked at home from comparable ingredients, would cost $70 to $100 per month. The gap between what you're spending and what you need to spend to eat well is $280 to $310 per month. Over a year, that's $3,360 to $3,720. Over 5 years, invested modestly, that number becomes something that could genuinely change your financial trajectory. The solution is not asceticism. It is not cooking every meal from scratch and never enjoying the convenience of delivered food. The solution is reclassification. Delivery food is not a normal expense. It is a premium convenience, and it should be treated as one. Reserved for the occasions where it provides genuine value. A long workday with no time to cook, a celebration, a sick day. Not a Tuesday. Not a default. That single reclassification, rigorously maintained, is worth thousands of dollars a year to the average household. Number 2, subscriptions you forgot you have. If food delivery is the most visible leak, forgotten subscriptions are the most invisible. And in some ways, the more insidious of the two, because they require no action on your part. They simply continue, month after month, quietly, automatically, without asking for your attention or your renewed consent. The subscription business model is one of the most brilliant financial constructs of the digital age. Brilliant from the company's perspective and dangerous from yours. It was engineered around a single psychological insight. A charge small enough to not trigger cancellation behavior will persist indefinitely. People will not spend the 15 minutes required to cancel a $9.99 monthly charge. The mental effort of locating the cancellation setting, navigating the retention flow designed to make you reconsider, and confirming the decision simply costs more cognitive energy than $9.99 feels worth. The company knows this. It priced the subscription accordingly. And when you multiply this across the 4 to 7 subscriptions the average person is carrying in 2026 that they either forgot about or use fewer than twice a month, the picture changes dramatically. Let me list the common categories so you can scan your own life as I go through them. Streaming platforms you added during a specific show and never canceled after finishing it. News website subscriptions from a moment of civic interest that never became a reading habit. Cloud storage upgrades that seemed necessary during a phone migration and never got revisited. Fitness apps that replaced gym motivation for 3 weeks in January. Premium tiers of free tools, productivity apps, note-taking apps, design tools that you upgraded once for a feature you no longer need. Software subscriptions from professional projects that ended. Gaming services. Digital magazine bundles. Password manager family plans you're the only one using. Individually, $7.99. $11.99. $4.99. $13.99. $6.99. Together, $80 to $200 per month. $960 to $2,400 per year. Exiting your accounts silently, automatically, having long since stopped delivering the value that originally justified them. The audit is the intervention, and it takes less than an hour. Go through your last 3 months of bank statements and credit card statements. Not your memory, your actual statements, because memory is exactly what these businesses are exploiting. Highlight every recurring charge. List them. Then, for each one, ask yourself 2 questions. Did I use this in the last 30 days? Would I consciously choose to subscribe to this today if I saw it advertised? If the answer to either question is no, cancel it before you finish this video. This exercise, done once, will find more free money in your existing budget than most people expect. And it requires no sacrifice, only the recovery of spending that had already stopped serving you. Number 3, eating out as a default. Restaurants and food delivery are related, but distinct financial problems. Delivery is about fees and markup. Restaurants in 2026 are about something else: the complete collapse of the value proposition for casual, unplanned dining. The restaurant industry is navigating one of the most difficult cost environments in modern history. Ingredient costs rose sharply and have not fully retreated. Labor costs increased significantly following changes in minimum wage structures across many regions. Commercial real estate, particularly in urban areas, remains extraordinarily expensive. Every one of these cost increases flows directly and visibly to the customer. A casual sit-down meal that cost $18 per person in 2021 now routinely costs $26 to $32 before tax and tip. Add a single alcoholic drink, a standard tip and applicable taxes, and a casual dinner for one person costs $45 to $55. For a couple, that is $90 to $110 for a Wednesday evening meal, done twice a week. And for many working adults, this is genuinely average. That is $720 to $880 per month on restaurant dining alone. Nearly $10,000 a year. For food that provides no more nourishment and, in most cases, no more actual enjoyment than a well-prepared meal at home. Again, this is not an argument against restaurants. Great dining experiences, intentional, planned, shared, special, are among the genuine pleasures of modern life and worth budgeting for deliberately. The financial damage comes entirely from default dining. Going out not because you chose an experience you were excited about, but because it was easier than figuring out dinner at home. Going out because hunger made the decision and planning didn't. The intervention is almost embarrassingly simple: a loose meal plan. Not a rigid dietary schedule. Not a chef-level preparation regimen. Just a rough answer, 3 to 4 days ahead, to the question of what you're going to eat. That level of low-effort planning eliminates the majority of default dining by removing the moment of decision that hunger wins. The financial difference between intentional and default restaurant dining, for the average household, is $300 to $600 per month. That is not a small number. That is a significant portion of what many people feel they are missing between their income and their financial goals. Number 4, fast fashion. The fast fashion industry made a miscalculation when it raised prices without raising quality, and consumers who haven't run the math are paying for that miscalculation repeatedly. Here is the economic reality of fast fashion in 2026. You are paying more than you were 3 years ago for clothing that is constructed to approximately the same standard, which is to say, constructed to a standard that produces failure within months. The business model depends on this. A garment that lasts 5 years is a garment sold once. A garment that lasts 4 months is a garment sold 3 times per year. The way to expose the true cost of fast fashion is through a metric called cost per wear. Take the price of the item and divide it by the number of times you will realistically wear it before it is unwearable or unworn. A $30 shirt you wear 15 times before the fabric thins, the color fades, or the fit distorts costs $2 per wear. A $90 shirt of genuine quality construction that you wear 120 times over 3 years costs 75 cents per wear. The expensive shirt is less than half the price in real terms. And it takes up less space in your closet. And you actually want to reach for it. And it doesn't go out of style in a season because it was never built around a trend to begin with. Beyond the financial argument, the fast fashion habit creates a psychological drain that is rarely discussed in personal finance contexts. A wardrobe full of cheap items you don't love, don't wear consistently, and can't quite bring yourself to discard creates ongoing low-level decision fatigue and a persistent, subtle dissatisfaction with your own possessions. Quality, in clothing as in most things, pays for itself over time. The transition from volume to value in your wardrobe costs nothing over a 12-month period. You simply stop buying frequently and start buying intentionally. Number 5, brand new cars, especially financed. A new car is one of the most heavily marketed, most emotionally loaded, and most financially destructive purchases the average person makes. And the industry has become extraordinarily sophisticated at making that destructiveness feel not just acceptable but rational. The depreciation reality is this. A new vehicle loses approximately 10% of its value the moment it leaves the dealership lot. By the end of year 1, it has lost 20 to 25% of its purchase price. By year 3, 40 to 50%. You are paying a substantial and immediate premium purely to be the first person to accumulate miles on it. There is no practical benefit to you as a driver. The car drives the same. The engine functions the same. The features are identical. The premium exists only in the transaction. Now add financing, because the vast majority of new car purchases in 2026 are financed rather than purchased outright. The modern dealership experience is engineered almost entirely around monthly payment rather than total cost. Finance managers are trained to anchor your attention on whether you can afford $650 per month rather than on whether you can afford $52,000 total. The monthly payment feels manageable. The total cost, spread across 72 or 84 months of interest, is genuinely staggering. A $42,000 vehicle financed at current rates over 84 months does not cost $42,000. It costs $56,000 to $60,000 after interest. For a vehicle that, by the time you finish paying for it, will be worth $18,000 to $22,000 on the open market, you will have paid $56,000 to $60,000 for something worth $20,000. That is the arithmetic of new car ownership when financed over the long terms that have become standard practice. A certified pre-owned vehicle 2 to 3 years old, same make, same model, same feature set, costs 25 to 35% less at purchase, has already absorbed the steepest portion of the depreciation curve, and in most cases carries a manufacturer-backed warranty that provides the reassurance most people cite as the reason they prefer new. The financial case for it is overwhelming. Drive what gets you where you need to go, reliably and safely. Everything beyond that is a lifestyle expense that should be weighed with complete clarity about its true cost. Number 6. Extended warranties on most electronics. The extended warranty is retail's most profitable sleight of hand. When a store employee or online checkout flow offers it to you, they are not providing a service driven by concern for your well-being. They are executing a high-margin upsell on one of the most statistically unfavorable protection products available to consumers. Understanding why requires understanding the failure curve of modern electronics. Consumer devices tend to fail, when they fail, either very early in their life, manufacturing defects that appear within the first weeks or months, entirely covered by the standard manufacturer's warranty, or much later, after years of use, when the device has typically already been replaced by something newer anyway. The middle period, years 2 through 4, which is precisely the window most extended warranties cover, is statistically the safest period of a device's operational life. It is the period of lowest failure probability. You are being sold insurance for the time you are least likely to need it, at a price point that the retailer knows, based on decades of actuarial data, will almost never be claimed in a way that exceeds the premium paid. The exceptions exist. A laptop that is central to your professional livelihood, where a catastrophic failure would cost you time and income far exceeding the warranty price. A high-end appliance with historically documented reliability issues and expensive component repair costs. In these specific cases, extended coverage may represent genuine value. But for the television, the wireless earbuds, the gaming accessory, the kitchen gadget, the standard consumer electronics that make up the majority of warranty upsell opportunities, decline it. Open a dedicated savings account with a recurring transfer of $20 to $30 per month. In 2 years, you have $480 to $720 available for any electronics repair or replacement that arises. You are self-insuring at a dramatically better rate than the retailer was offering. Number 7. Buy now, pay later for non-essential purchases. Buy now, pay later is the most psychologically elegant financial product of the 2020s. I say that not as a compliment, but as a warning, because understanding how it works on your brain is the only reliable protection against it. The product's entire value to the businesses that offer it rests on a single mechanism: the removal of the natural friction that protects you from impulsive purchases. When you see a $180 pair of shoes, your brain runs an automatic and entirely useful evaluation. Is this worth $180? Do I have $180 available right now? Is this something I would still want in 3 days if I waited? That evaluation, when it functions properly, separates purchases that genuinely add value to your life from purchases that satisfy a momentary impulse you'll have forgotten in a week. Buy now, pay later dismantles that evaluation completely. It converts $180 into 4 payments of $45. And $45 doesn't trigger the same scrutiny. $45 barely registers. The shoes are worth $45 without any real deliberation, so the purchase proceeds. The friction that was supposed to protect your financial interests has been engineered away. Not by accident, but by design, by companies who profit directly from your reduced hesitation. The shoes still cost $180. The handbag still costs $240. The electronics still costs $320. The money still leaves your account. It just leaves in installments quiet enough that your financial self-protection system doesn't sound the alarm. And when you layer multiple BNPL commitments, which is effortless to do when each one feels like a $40 or $50 decision, you build a structure of upcoming automatic withdrawals that can total $600, $800, or over $1,000 in committed future spending that you made decisions about when your brain was evaluating $45 at a time. The rule is simple and worth repeating. Never use buy now, pay later for anything you could not comfortably pay for in full right now. If the full price would give you pause, the installment plan is not solving that problem. It is hiding it temporarily while the problem grows. Number 8. Lottery tickets and habitual gambling. There is a version of this that is harmless and purely recreational. The occasional scratch card at a gas station, the office pool for a record jackpot, a friendly sports bet between people who can genuinely afford to lose the amount involved. That version requires no intervention. This is about the version that has become a habit, a weekly ritual, a regular expense that has been mentally categorized as entertainment, but functions financially as a wealth transfer mechanism. Specifically, a transfer from you to the organizations that run the games. The mathematics of lottery participation are not complicated, but they are rarely stated plainly. The expected return on a lottery ticket, meaning the statistically average amount you receive back for every dollar you put in, accounting for all prize tiers and all outcomes, is approximately 50 cents. In some lotteries, slightly higher. In scratch cards and many instant games, often lower. This means that for every dollar you spend on lottery products, you lose on average 50 cents. Not in one dramatic moment. In a slow, consistent, mathematically inevitable erosion. It is one of the worst return profiles available to you in any legal financial transaction. $25 per week spent on lottery tickets or casual gambling is $1,300 per year. That $1,300, invested at an average annual return of 8%, becomes approximately $19,000 in 10 years and over $63,000 in 25 years. The person spending $25 a week on lottery tickets is not choosing between $25 and the possibility of winning a jackpot. They are choosing between $25 now and $63,000 in 25 years. Every week. That is what habitual lottery spending actually costs in real financial terms. The dream that the lottery sells, that financial freedom is one lucky number away, is the exact same dream that disciplined investing actually delivers, just through a path that requires patience rather than luck, and that is available to everyone rather than to the statistically negligible fraction who win. Number 9. Premium cable and bloated TV packages. In 2026, paying for a full cable television package is one of the most straightforward examples of paying for things you don't use that exists in the consumer market. It is a legacy product priced at a premium that the modern entertainment landscape has not only matched but significantly exceeded in value at a fraction of the cost. The average cable package in 2026 costs between $120 and $200 per month when you include equipment rental fees, regional sports tiers, and the various add-ons that get bundled during sign-up and never revisited. That is $1,440 to $2,400 per year for a service that delivers, in most households, 8 to 12 channels of actual regular viewing from a lineup of 200 or more. The streaming alternative, 2 or 3 carefully chosen platforms built around what your household actually watches, typically costs $30 to $50 per month and provides, for most people, more content they genuinely want than cable ever did. The trap that erases this advantage is subscription sprawl. The household that subscribes to cable and then adds streaming services on top, or the household that cancels cable but subscribes to 6 streaming platforms simultaneously, ending up at cable pricing without noticing. The principle applies equally to streaming. Pay for what you watch and only what you watch. This is one of the easiest and most immediate wins available to anyone reading this. The process takes one conversation with your cable provider and 20 minutes of account management. The savings are immediate and consistent from month 1. Number 10. Unused gym memberships. The gym business model is one of the most financially transparent in existence, once you understand how it actually works. And understanding it is clarifying in a way that makes the decision about your own membership much easier. Gyms sell memberships in volumes that their physical facilities cannot accommodate. This is not a hidden practice or a controversial claim. It is how the economics of fitness clubs function, and the industry openly accounts for it. The average gym relies on 80% of its members not showing up consistently. If that attendance pattern reversed, if the majority of members came regularly, the gym would be physically, operationally, and financially unable to serve them. There is not enough equipment, not enough floor space, not enough staff, not enough parking. The business model, therefore, depends on you paying and not coming. Every month you pay your membership fee and do not walk through the door. You are participating in the gym's financial model exactly as intended. The psychological mechanism that keeps people paying despite not going is the sunk cost fallacy combined with aspirational self-image. Canceling the membership feels like giving up on the version of yourself that goes to the gym. Keeping it feels like keeping the possibility alive. But possibility, unfortunately, does not build muscle or improve cardiovascular health. Actual presence does. If you go to the gym consistently, meaning at minimum 3 times per week with a real plan, your membership is one of the better value exchanges in your budget. If you go twice a month on a motivated week, and not at all most weeks, you are paying $20 to $40 per visit for the privilege of occasionally using equipment you could find alternative access to for free. Evaluate honestly. And if the gym structure genuinely doesn't work for your life and motivation, release both the membership and the guilt about it. Find movement that sticks: running, cycling, bodyweight training, sports, anything. The most expensive fitness routine is always the one you're funding, but not doing. Number 11. Paying a convenience premium at every single step. This item is the hardest to address because it doesn't appear anywhere on a list. It doesn't show up as a single line item in your budget. It manifests instead as dozens of micro decisions, scattered throughout each day and week, each one completely reasonable in isolation, each one invisible against the backdrop of your actual spending, but collectively creating an enormous and entirely preventable annual expense. The convenience premium economy has exploded in 2026. Every step of modern life now offers a paid upgrade for slightly less friction. And because each individual upgrade costs $3, $5, $8, or $12, the mental accounting that would flag a large single purchase never activates. Airport terminal food costs 3 to 4 times what the same food costs outside security. You know this. You pay it anyway because you're already through security and your flight boards in 2 hours. Hotel minibar water costs $7. Vending machine prices in transit hubs are 40 to 80% above convenience store prices. Convenience store prices are 30 to 50% above supermarket prices. Last-minute purchases of any kind, flights, accommodation, event tickets, gifts, carry premiums of 20 to 200% above planned equivalents. The daily bottled water. The grab-and-go breakfast because you didn't prepare anything the night before. The parking garage because you didn't leave 10 minutes earlier to find street parking. The rush shipping fee because you forgot about the occasion until the last moment. The premium lane at the airport because you didn't check in early enough to get a reasonable boarding position. None of these are catastrophic. But the person who consistently opts for the convenience upgrade at every decision point spends $2,500 to $5,000 more per year than the person who plans modestly ahead. Not because they enjoy more, not because they live better, but because they pay a premium for the same outcome that a small amount of anticipation would have delivered for free. You cannot eliminate convenience costs entirely, and you shouldn't try. But identifying your 3 or 4 most consistent convenience habits and building the minimal planning infrastructure to avoid them is one of the highest return time investments you can make. 10 minutes of preparation the night before can save you $15 to $40 the following day. Over a year, that math is significant. Number 12. An expensive wedding you genuinely cannot afford. This one requires the most careful framing, because the emotion and meaning embedded in a wedding are real and deserve acknowledgement before the financial conversation happens. A wedding is one of the most significant events in most people's lives. The people gathered represent relationships that matter. The promises made are among the most serious a person will ever make. The photographs capture something irreplaceable. None of that is trivial, and nothing in this section is intended to minimize it. But the financial reality of weddings in 2026 demands an honest reckoning that the wedding industry, for obvious reasons, is not incentivized to provide. The average wedding in the United States now costs $30,000 to $35,000. In major metropolitan areas, $50,000 to $80,000 for events that feel moderate to the couples planning them. A meaningful percentage of couples, estimates range from 25 to 40% depending on the survey, finance a portion of their wedding through personal loans, credit cards, or informal debt from family members. They begin their shared financial life carrying debt. Not for a home, not for education, not for a business or an investment that generates future return. For one day, one beautiful, meaningful, irreplaceable day that begins their partnership under the weight of financial obligation. The wedding industry is one of the most sophisticated emotional marketing environments ever constructed. It has perfected, over decades, the architecture of making every single upgrade feel not just appealing but necessary. The premium venue feels essential because the memory deserves it. The next tier of floral arrangements feels like a reflection of how much the relationship matters. The expanded guest list feels like an obligation to family and community. The photography upgrade feels like protecting something that cannot be recreated. And none of these arguments are false, exactly. The problem is that each one adds $1,500, $3,000, $5,000 to a number that began beyond what the couple could reasonably absorb. And by the time the cumulative total is visible, the emotional investment in each component makes it nearly psychologically impossible to revise. Beginning a marriage with $20,000 in shared debt creates a specific and documented kind of financial stress that affects newly married couples at disproportionate rates. It delays the emergency fund. It delays the down payment. It delays the investment account. It introduces financial tension into a relationship at the moment when the relationship is newest and most vulnerable to external stressors. The marriage is the investment. The commitment is what lasts. The love is what matters. The wedding is a celebration of all of those things. And a celebration can be profound, memorable, and deeply meaningful at a cost that your finances can actually absorb without consequence. The most loving financial decision you can make for your future partner is to begin your shared life unburdened. Here is what every single one of these 12 things has in common, and why I wanted to bring them together in one place. None of them feel like mistakes in the moment. That is the entire point. They feel normal. They feel reasonable. They feel like what responsible, functional adults in 2026 do. Because for the most part, they are exactly what responsible, functional adults in 2026 do. Food delivery several times a week. 6 subscriptions running in the background. Restaurants by default when planning feels hard. Fast fashion because prices feel low even when they aren't. New cars financed over 7 years. Extended warranties at checkout. Buy now, pay later for purchases that feel small in installments. Weekly lottery tickets as a form of hope. Cable packages from inertia. Gym memberships from aspiration. Convenience premiums at every step. Weddings priced beyond what the budget actually allows. This is the texture of normal modern financial life. And normal, in 2026, is why so many people who are working harder than they ever have, earning more than they ever have, still cannot seem to close the gap between their income and their financial goals. Normal is expensive. Extraordinarily, quietly, cumulatively expensive. And you are not obligated to maintain it. The goal of this conversation was never to take anything away from you. It was never to build a case for a smaller, less enjoyable life. It was never to suggest that comfort and pleasure are the enemies of financial freedom. The goal was this: to make sure that when your money leaves your account, it leaves because you consciously chose to send it somewhere that genuinely serves your life. Not because a subscription auto-renewed. Not because hunger made the decision before planning did. Not because a salesperson at checkout was trained to create urgency. Not because a financing structure made something feel affordable that the full price would have made you reconsider. Not because everyone else is doing it, and doing what everyone else is doing has come to feel like the absence of a choice. Every dollar that exits your accounts without your full awareness is a dollar that cannot compound, cannot invest, cannot build the emergency fund that protects you, or the investment account that grows for you, or the financial buffer that gives you options when life presents the unexpected, which it always does on its own timeline, without asking whether your finances are ready. Go through this list slowly. Sit with each item. Think honestly about your own relationship with each category. You will know immediately which ones landed, which ones produced a recognition that you've been carrying quietly without fully naming it. Pick 2 or 3. Make one concrete, specific change in the next 7 days. Not a resolution, not a vague intention. A specific action. Cancel the subscription, delete the delivery app from your home screen, set a meal plan for the next 4 days, schedule the hour to audit your bank statement. That is how financial change actually happens. Not in grand gestures made during moments of peak motivation that fade within 2 weeks. In small, specific, consistently maintained decisions that compound over months and years into a financial reality that finally reflects the work you've been putting in all along. You earn this money. Every dollar of it. With your time, your energy, your focus, and your effort, none of which you can get back. Make sure it goes where you actually send it. If this video gave you something useful today, a specific insight, a recognition, a number you hadn't run before, do one thing. Share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it. A friend who works hard and wonders why the bank account never seems to grow. A sibling starting their financial life. A colleague who mentioned feeling stuck. This conversation might be exactly the one they needed to have. And if you want to keep going deeper, subscribe. Every week, I break down the real financial mechanics, the real behavioral patterns, and the real practical moves that separate the people building wealth quietly from the people wondering what they're missing. No fluff. No unrealistic promises. Just the honest financial education that should have been available to all of us from the beginning. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself, and take care of your money.